and I will be joining from India. Um, I think that's what is about Krishna Bhakti. It is when you get a taste of it, we can't leave. Anil Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Paritosh Prabhu,
Hare
Jagannath Prabhu,
Krishna,
Hare
Shyam Prabhuji,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna to all the devotees.
and happy
Hare
Diwali to
Krishna.
everyone.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, Paritosh Prabhu, I can hear you.
Ah, Hare
Diwali.
Krishna. Happy Diwali. Hey, who's from India, man? Hey, our friend is from India there.
No, not now. Naidu Prabhu used to join from
I'm,
India.
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back to Luton, Prabhu.
Oh, you're back to Luton. Okay. Your
Yeah,
mommy okay?
yeah, she's stabilizing. Yeah,
Excellent, excellent, excellent,
I'll
excellent.
meet you
Good
on
to see you
Saturday.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice, nice. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been really nice serving together. Yeah, I was thanks to Ramnath Prabhu, I had a chance, an opportunity to sing in Soho Temple, Damodarastikam. I think that will always remain in my life as a very blissful moment. I was just looking at Lord Jagannath in front of me and just and I was just not able to believe it. Like just getting an opportunity to serve. It is like something which I was relishing every minute, and I couldn't believe it even while singing. I was thinking, like, how is this even happening? It's like is so merciful and so kind, and how Krishna is so reciprocating. Like, I just felt like Ramnath Prabhu was Krishna just made gave me this opportunity to Ramnath Prabhuji, and
Well, you came a week earlier, and I said, "Hey, let's look at the schedule." And sure enough, there was an opening. Put your name there. That's it.
yes, Prabhuji, these things happen seem to be like some casual conversation, but for me, I feel it's like a divine arrangement. It's
Well,
like
it's all, of course, it's divine arrangement. Yeah, of course.
it's Krishna's arrangement that just to give a chance to serve him. And if I was relishing every minute of singing out there, and I just asked one of them to just take a small video, so I can keep it with me as a memory. Always, these things, these should be very close to our heart, and we shouldn't take that casually. We should take this as mercy and the grace of Krishna, because this Damodarastikam in this month itself.
Do it again next year, Prabhu.
Yes, yes.
Make
yes,
it a regular Kartik part of your life.
Yes, definitely, Ramnath Prabhuji. For me, it was such a this thing. I can't forget you also about this small leela through Krishna. In fact, last Saturday also, myself and Paritosh Prabhu, we kind of like sang in manner. Damodarastikam, we were singing continuously till 6 o'clock, and then another devotee invited us for home for doing this kirtan, and then we went and did a nice kirtan for half an hour, and it was so blissful to just be among all the devotees and just vibrate that song of Hare Krishna Mahamantra with 25 people. It was just amazing. I'm sure Paritosh Prabhu, you would have enjoyed that as well.
It was magic. I actually want to ask Prabhuji there. Do we only sing the Damodarshan during Damodarshan? Can we not singing throughout the year?
Yeah, it could be sung throughout the year, but it's kind of like designated as the official Kartik song when we offer the lamps throughout Kartik.
Yeah.
But there's no reason you can't say. I mean, it's basically, in the mood of Vatsalya Ras. And someone can sing it all anytime they want.
Exactly. Right, Sham, you know what's happening on Saturday, yeah?
Yeah.
I shall remind you.
Yeah,
no, it was magic. Even Sunday was magical. It was just me and you. And obviously Charlotte was there later on, but it was just me and you, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Good, thank you.
Yeah, nice, Prabhuji. It's always joyful to have these blissful moments in this month of Kartik. Seems very special. And just explaining everybody the significance of Damodara month, I think it was so nice actually doing all that seva. Hopefully by the blessings of Vaishnavas like you, Ramana Prabhuji, we progress in our bhakti life.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
With everyone's permission, just to get started off, maybe can we ask anyone who can just start off with the Mangalacharan prayer. Amoga Prabhu, are you there? Amoga Prabhu, would you? going to do the Mangala Charan prayer. 1 minute. I'm just going to pull out the Mangala Charan prayer.
I don't think Moga Prabhuji is on the full sham.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, you could, maybe it could be, Amaga
I don't
Prabhu
think he's joined yet.
is serving devotees, so many different sessions actually. Nagaraj Prabhu, do you want to do?
Sure, Prabhu. Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mangala Charan prayer. Go ahead.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपादाङ्कितम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साजरतं सहगण रघुनाथमन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वाधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान सहगण ललित श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चातारिजतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. It was wonderful to get started off with the Mangala Charan prayer, and then I'll just do the Jai Radha Madhav invocation, and then we will just go into the Krishna book reading with everyone's permission. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone. So, the joy of Krishna Katha is always so blissful to hear. I'm just going to just bring this with the base online.
I think we should have a tune like, dudum, 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 because it's very exciting all the time with Krishna Katha.
Krishna Katha is always here. I mean, if you see the whole of the Leelas, right? I mean, this is one of the things, like Krishna's, if you see right from the time when Krishna was born, there was action from day one. When Vasudeva carries Krishna on his head and the Yamuna, whole river Yamuna makes way for him. And from then on, the action starts. And even when he was a small child as a Damodara, we have so many beautiful Leelas happening, how he delivered just by the touch of Krishna. Kuvera's sons like Manigriva and Alakuvera, they get delivered. They get back their demigod forms. I mean, this is just like every second of Krishna's life, you can see like the Leelas are just unfolding, and Krishna is unlimited. So the Leelas are also unlimited. So we just only can rejoice. And the real joy comes from reading Krishna Katha. Machita Madgata Pranam Bodhayante Parasparam Katayantasta Namam Nitya Tusyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Krishna Bhagavan himself says we are all looking for satisfaction and we are all looking for bliss. But Krishna tells that in Bhagavad Gita that my devotees, their thoughts are always about me. They're always thinking about me. And they get great joy and they get bliss and they get satisfaction. Bliss means this is the ultimate. It's not the flickering happiness that you get in the material world, but the real bliss and the real satisfaction. Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita, you get when you are listening to Krishna Katha, when you are listening, when devotees are sharing with each other about Krishna Katha. This is the real bliss, because everything this happens in the material world is a perverted reflection of what originally it happens in the spiritual world. So when we are talking about anything relating to Krishna Katha, when we are talking about this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, all of these are not on the material platform. They're all on the spiritual platform. And that's the reason why, because we are a spirit soul, it gives us so much of joy to listen to Krishna Katha, because everything goes on the platform of spiritual. So with just the invocation, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As we always mention, the greatness about listening to Krishna Katha, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, Evam Yo Veti Tatvataha, Chakradeham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorjana. That anyone who's listening to Krishna Katha, towards the end of their life, they do not come back into this material world, but they will directly go to the Krishna Loka. So that is the kind of benediction that Krishna is offering all of us. From time to time, Krishna is always trying to entice us with so many different ways in which he comes in different avatars. And as that is not important, that is not enough, he comes in the form of a devotee as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as if that is not important, then Krishna again sends his purest devotees like our Srila Prabhupada. And after that, he also comes in the month of Kartik to give us this benediction that by just lighting a lamp, that all your sins can be removed from so many lifetimes. So in this way, Krishna is keeping on enticing us, giving us so many inducements to take us closer towards him. Unless we know this such a lovely Leelas of Krishna, how can we fall in love with Krishna? Only we can understand how great Krishna is. So we started this beautiful chapter called Krishna Kidnaps Rukmini. Even though it looks like a normal material world when say Krishna kidnaps Rukmini, but we have to understand, which is why Krishna says Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, which means that anything that happens in Krishna's life, any thing that happens on the what Krishna is doing in this material world. Janma karma divyam. That means these are all transcendental pastimes. These are all divyam. These are amazingly blissful pastimes, not to be understood on the material platform, but to be understood on the spiritual platform. Only then we'll be able to rejoice. So we should, when we are listening to Krishna Katha, we should be in that mood of devotion, in the mood of understanding that Krishna is with the supreme personality of Godhead. That's something which you would keep in mind. And we've seen that how, just a recap, like how Rukmini heard about Krishna from Narada and many other devotees. And this is the reason why devotees association are so important. Two things are very important. One is devotee association, and second thing is Shravanam, hearing. It's very important. See, like how Rukmini has fallen in love with Krishna. How did she fall in love? One, devotees association, by being in the association of Narada Muni and all the great saints who are speaking great about Krishna. And second thing is, she was always hearing. She had never seen Krishna. But she has made up her mind with great determination that it is only going to be Krishna and nobody else that's going to marry. And she's ready to be prepared that in case if she can't get Krishna in this life, she's ready to go through all the austerities and get him in his next life. But she has made up her mind that it is not going to be Sushipal. And as we know, Sushipal was, he was being, Rukmini's brother was constantly, he was very keen on giving his sister Rukmini in the hands of Shishupal and not Krishna. And we know how King Bhishmaka also was the father of Rukmini, and he was obliged because it was his son who was trying to take the lead on all these things. And we've seen how Bhishmaka is kind of like inviting so many warriors. And we've seen that how the Brahmana goes and tells Krishna that Krishna, it is time to act now, right now, because the marriage is the very next day. And we can see that how Krishna rode his chariot over the night to reach this place called Kundini with all this ready to, and Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So he took over a night's time. He just traveled all the way 1,000 miles to reach this place of Kundini. And Bhishmaka, having heard that Krishna has come, he's invited both Krishna as well as Balaram as well. And we see like how the beautiful relationship of Krishna and Balaram, right? And who's Balaram? Balaram is an expansion of Krishna. Krishna on the left hand, from the left side, he kind of expands himself as Radharani, and the right hand expands as Balaram. So it's an expansion of Krishna. So when Balaram gets to know that Krishna has gone to Kundini, and he knows this whole thing, the backdrop of this, so he also goes over there to be a support for Krishna. In the meanwhile, we've seen that Rukmini was, as part of the ritual that happens in those days before the marriage, they normally go to the temple to get the blessings of Lord Shiva and Durga Devi. And Rukmini is full of anxiety. She is not sure whether Krishna is going to come because she hasn't seen Krishna or the Brahmana anywhere near sight. And finally, she was quite rejoicing in her mind because she happens to see the Brahmana who has come back. And the Krishna waits out there and he sends the Brahmana inside, and Brahmana goes and tells Rukmini that Krishna indeed has come. Till then, there was a lot of lamentation. We seen earlier when Krishna went to Mathura, Radharani was with so much of mixed emotions. Like, she was talking to the bumblebee. She was kind of like telling, has Krishna completely left us? Has he forgotten about us? And then he was saying, and the bumblebee then disappears and doesn't come back. And she keeps thinking, maybe bumblebee must have gone to Krishna, and maybe Krishna is upset with me. Maybe the bumblebee must have told everything about him. So they were going through a lot of emotions. So similarly, we can see here that even Rukmini was going through a lot of emotions. Whether Krishna is going to come back, did she offend the demigods? Did she offend the Durga Devi? Did she offend the Shiva? Or anywhere in terms of the worship? Is that the reason why Krishna did not come, and things like that? So many things were going on in her mind. But when she finally seen Krishna appearing in front of her, she was very, very happy to see that Krishna was there among all the different people. And we seen that how Jarasandha, and Krishna was, we are all part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna was like a true Kshatriya, he came over there, and we can see like how beautifully this narration of which Prabhupada has kind of translated. And we've seen how Rukmini's, how everybody, all the princes were looking at Rukmini so amazed because she was looking so beautiful. And they were all thinking that maybe they're going to just get married. But in her mind, she was always, her mind was completely decided that it's only going to be Krishna and nobody else. And we can see that Rukmini, even though she was never seen, as soon as before she heard about him, But now that she had no difficulty in recognizing him among the princely order. So if you can imagine that even though they were, the Krishna's beauty is that, like, 1,000 cupids also don't come anywhere in comparison with Krishna's beauty, right? So we can see that Rukmini could just make out, and then immediately Krishna comes on his chariot, and without any fear, and he is proceeding slowly also. He's not afraid of any princess. We've seen that earlier, that Jarasandha and all these people, like Sushupal and all of them, they were getting ready because they came to know that Krishna is likelihood that Krishna is going to come and take away Rukmini. So they were all prepared that if Krishna is going to come, they're going to attack him and things like that. But you can see Krishna is not afraid of anyone. He even defeated Jarasandha 17 times, as we can see earlier. And now he's come out there without any fear. He's taking away Rukmini. Just like a nice comparison. What can be a better comparison? Like a lion takes away a deer from the midst of all the jackals. Such an analogy that's been given out here. And even Balaram also appeared because he's always on the side of Krishna. As we've seen, like in our ISKCON temple in Vrindavan, that we have, Krishna and Balaram out there as well. And now towards the end of the chapter, we've seen how Jarasandha was kind of like roaring. How is it possible that Krishna can take away Rukmini without any opposition? Because end of the day, whether they're on the other side, it's all Kshatriya. This is the spirit of the Kshatriya. Like, in front of you, somebody taking away, it's like an insult for the Kshatriya. It is a kind of like, it is something to be, Kshatriya cannot take that. And what is the use of us being chivalrous fighters without arrows? My dear princess, just look, we are losing our reputation. He's just like a jackal taking booty from a lion. So we can see that how the emotion that were running around. People. One of the things about demoniac people is that they have this false ego and they have this mighty ego. Their ego is as big as an elephant, right? And this is something which you can see, whether it is Kauravas or any of like the people like here, like Jarasandha also, they have that big, massive ego. Like in front of me, how is it possible that Kshatriya thing? Like, how is it that Rukmini Krishna can just take away, and that too in front of us? Like, so it's a kind of like an insult kind of thing. So this is where it can be kind of like stop. I mean, a quick recap, but because it is so it's pure nectar. So that is where we ended as Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. And now we can see another beautiful one which is coming up, saying chapter number 54, Krishna defeats all the princes and takes Rukmini home to Dwaraka. So, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Pardo Danurdaraha Tatra Shri Vijayabhuti Dhruvani. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is a devotee, there's only going to be auspiciousness, there's only going to be victory. So, and Krishna never disappoints any of his devotees. Anybody who's having the desire to serve Krishna, anybody who's having the desires to want Krishna only, and Krishna becomes very pleased, right? Even when Dhruv Maharaj was kind of like praying for Krishna, and finally when Krishna appeared, he says, Krishna, after seeing you, I have realized that when a diamond like you is in front of me and I'm just simply asking for broken glass pieces, Krishna, I do not want anything, I just want you. So when we know how beautiful Krishna is, we will fall in love with Krishna, that we do not want nothing in this material world will compare to having Krishna in our lives. And that starts with lighting a lamp. And this is what Damodara month is all about, lighting the lamp of our heart. So here we can start off by Jarasandha and all the princes were very angry at Krishna for having kidnapped Rukmini. Struck by Rukmini's beauty, they had fallen from the backs of their horses and elephants. But now they began to stand up and properly arm themselves. Picking up their bows and arrows, they began to chase Krishna on their chariots and horses and elephants. To check their progress, the soldiers of the Yodha dynasty turned and faced them. Thus, terrible fighting began between the two belligerent groups. The princes opposing Krishna, who were led by Jarasandha, were all expert in fighting, shot their arrows at the Yadu soldiers just as cloud splashes the faces of a mountain with torrents of rain. Gathered on the face of a mountain, the cloud does not move very much, and therefore the force of rain is much more severe on a mountain than anywhere else. So we can see, like we said in the beginning of the chapter, wherever there is Krishna, there's always going to be full of action. It is never going to be a static moment. It's always dynamic with Krishna. And that's why even when we fall in love with Krishna, when we are worshipping Krishna, devotees of Krishna, they're always busy. They're either doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting, or they're reciting the verses of Bhagavad Gita, or they are doing some kirtan somewhere. In this material world where people talk about loneliness, we are never alone when we have Krishna in our lives. Because Krishna always keeps you so busy that there is depression, there's no depression and anger and all these things happen when we feel lonely. But when you have Krishna within our heart, we are never lonely. We have a best friend sitting in our heart, always giving us this joy and giving us this opportunity. In today's world, we struggle to just even wait for 5 minutes. But for a devotee of Krishna, when you have 5 minutes, we take the chanting bag and start chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And we keep thinking, like, how many rounds can I continue? How many rounds can I complete within the next, by the time the next train comes? So that's the mood of the devotees. So we can see here the action is starting. Jarasandha and other places. So Jarasandha has not learned his lesson, even though Balaram said, brother, let's finish him off. Krishna spared his life and he let him go. But it's a lesson that sometimes when you kind of we show mercy, people don't learn the lesson. So Jarasandha, even though Krishna is defeated him 17 times and let him go, still he's not learned the lesson. And now we see that all of them, they're angry and they come because all the like-minded demoniac people like Jarasandha and Sushupal had come together. So they're very angry that Krishna is just taken away in front of their eyes. And when they seen Rukmini, they had this desire that everybody wanted to have Rukmini in their life, but it was not possible because it's only one way. But with Krishna, it was two ways. Rukmini was in love with Krishna and Krishna was in love with Rukmini as well. And then we can see that as Kshatriyas, they started picking up their arrows and started shooting at Krishna, and Krishna was there because Krishna and Balaram also were there. So we can find that there was a war fighting that was breaking up, and Krishna was just taking Rukmini so nicely in the chariot and started working. And this is a kind of a analogy given about how the cloud does not move much of a mountain. So here we can see how beautiful this anything that happens with Krishna, whether it is singing, the gopis singing, or the rasa dance, or whether Krishna killing Putana, or whether Krishna fighting with the Jarasandha, or Krishna fighting with Kalanemi, or whether Krishna is defeating Jarasandha, everything is completely on the devotional platform. It is so joyful to listen to anything relating to Krishna. The opposing princes were determined to defeat Krishna and recapture Rukmini from his custody, and they fought with him as severely as possible. Rukmini, seated by the side of Krishna, saw arrows raining from the opposing party onto the faces of the Yadu soldiers. In a fearful attitude, she looked upon Krishna's face, expressing her gratefulness that he had taken such a great risk for her sake only. Her eyes moving, she appeared sorry, and Krishna, who could immediately understand her mind, encouraged her with these words, "My dear Rukmini, don't worry. Please rest assured that the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty will kill all the opposing soldiers without any delay." Right? So this is what happens when we are with Krishna, right? So many challenging situations we may have, but when we have Krishna with us, there's always going to be, we are always can stand strong, like how Rukmini here, even though Krishna was feeling very much, because she was feeling very obliged, like Krishna is taking so much of risk, right? He just came straight away over there and taken Rukmini and going, because it's such a powerful army. Like you have Jarasandha, you have Shishupal, and all of them. There are a lot of princes who gathered over there with their army. So there's every chance. So we have Krishna and Balaram on one side, and we have on Shishupal and Jarasandha and so many other princes, like-minded demoniac princes who joined together and fighting against them. But Krishna was not at all perturbed. As you can see, Krishna is always so cool about all these things. So he's like, do not worry at all. Be rest assured, the soldiers will kill. Because this is the Yadu dynasty, because these are all the soldiers, because the Narayana Sena, it's there completely with Krishna. There's no chance that any of them can get defeated, because they're all under the mercy of Krishna, under the protection of Krishna. So this is something to be assured, that anybody who's fighting on behalf of Krishna, we had to be assured that Krishna is giving us this assurance that, you don't need to worry about it. We will always be able to, no matter how mighty our enemy is, Krishna is assuring that when you have Krishna on our side, when we are fighting for Krishna, like the soldiers here, the Yadu soldiers, they're fighting for Krishna and Balaram. So there's every way they're only going to be victorious. As Krishna was speaking with Rukmini, the commanders of the Yadu dynasty soldiers, headed by Lord Balaram, who's also known as Sankarshana, as well as by Gada, not tolerating the defiant attitude of the opposing soldiers, began to strike their horses, elephants, and chariots with arrows. As the fighting progressed, the princes and the soldiers of the enemy began to fall from their horses, elephants, and chariots. Within a short time, millions of severed heads, decorated with helmets and earrings, had fallen on the battlefield. The soldiers' hands were severed, along with their bows and arrows and clubs. Arms were piled upon arms, thighs upon thighs, and horses upon horses. Similarly, other animals, such as camels, elephants, and asses, as well as infantry soldiers, all fell with severe heads. So we can imagine, right? We can bring to mind what kind of a mighty armies the people used to have in those days. A lot of people have misconception about, even the land of Bharat, which is called as India. The India was called as Bharat at that point of time. So we can imagine like 5,000 years where there was nothing in other parts of the world. And here you could see there were mighty kingdoms, mighty princes with great warriors and kind of like infantry and the kind of elephants. It's like done on such a large scale. And even the elaborate arrangement that Bhishmaka has done for his daughter's marriage. So we can see like the land of Bharat, which was India at one time, was like such a royal kingdoms that were existing in that point of time, that you can, just by the narration of this from Srimad Bhagavatam, we can bring to mind how glorious those empires were in that point of time. But we can see that, no matter how many the Yadus must have been killed in front of, in those particular, warfare that happens. But no matter whatever happens, we have to always keep in mind that anybody, whether they died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or whether they died, anybody who dies in the presence of Krishna, they get liberated. So, Lord, for the people who think like, okay, how could Krishna cause this war? How could this happen? But Krishna is so merciful. What not a normally person can't do, Krishna has given them. He's given them mukti to all the people. So we have to understand that the Supreme Lord is so kind and merciful that anybody who has died in his presence also, they were all completely liberated. When the enemy headed by Jarasandha found that they were gradually being defeated by the soldiers of Krishna, they thought that it is unwise to risk losing their armies in the battle for the sake of Shishupal. Shishupal himself should have fought to rescue Rukmini from the hands of Krishna. But when the soldiers saw that Shishupal was not competent to fight with Krishna, they decided not to lose their armies unnecessarily. Therefore, they ceased fighting and dispersed. So this is like, so Krishna's katha is so much of nectar. There's so many things we can takeaways, like, the takeaways, such a common word in England, isn't it? Would you want some takeaway? So in Krishna katha, you have so many takeaways, like how we can see, like, even the like-minded people can join when you have people, demoniac people who are joining together. So this is the nature, isn't it? So even though they went and along with Shishupal to fight with Krishna, when they know that it's a losing battle, that they're going to lose the battle, and they just want to save their own army, right? So they just want to retreat, and they were just thinking like, even Shishupal, he's the person, he's the bridegroom over there. He's the one who's going to marry Rukmini. He should be taking, he's the biggest stakeholder here. He's the one who has the highest stakes over here, and he's the one who's supposed to be actually fighting. But you can see that from this battle that Shishupal was nowhere even competent or even good enough to even fight with him. And I'm sure Jarasandha should have known about this, because he's already had the taste of defeat in the hands of Krishna, but he hasn't learned the lesson. This is what happens, isn't it? When demoniac people, their tendencies don't change, no matter how many times. And we can see that in future, we'll get to know how many times Krishna is given a chance to Shishupal. And finally, what happens to Shishupal at the end of life, we will cover that later. And so you can see that this is what happens, isn't it? People are so selfish and self-minded when they think that why should we lose our army for the sake of Shishupal, who's not himself competent to stand against. So they just wanted to protect their army. They don't want to lose their own armies, and they ceased the fighting and they just went back. So this is what happens, isn't it? People are very undependable, especially when you have people, selfish people and demoniac people, when they come together, they may kind of like push others, like we see in Jarasandha. Like, even though Krishna defeated, all these demoniac friends started inciting him. He started encouraging, oh, don't worry about all that. I think you should go and fight against Krishna. This is what happens. This is the tendency. When like-minded devotees come, your devotion towards Krishna increases. And that is why Sadhu Sangha is so important. Similarly, on the other side, when you are in the association of the demoniac people, these are the kind of experiences that they have. A friend in need is a friend indeed, they say, but But when you have with demonic people, a friend in need is not my friend. So this is what is happening. When you have friends like the friends of Sushipal, when they know that they're losing the army, they just decided a friend in need is not my friend. So I'm not going to stay there. We're going to leave from there. Some of the princes, as a matter of etiquette, appeared before Shishupal. They saw that Shishupal was discouraged, like the one who has lost his wife. His face appeared dried up. He had lost all his energy, and all the luster on his body had disappeared. They addressed Shishupal thus: "Our dear Shishupal, don't be discouraged in this way. You belong to the royal order and a chief among the fighters. There is no question of distress or happiness for a person like you, because neither of these conditions is everlasting. Don't be disappointed. Take courage. Don't be disappointed by this temporary reversal. After all, we are not the final actors. As puppets dance in the hands of a magician, we're all dancing by the will of the Supreme. And according to his plan alone, we suffer distress or enjoy happiness. We should therefore be equipoised in all circumstances." It almost feels like, the friends of Swishupal have read Bhagavad Gita. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Matras parsastu kaunteya shitos sukkadukada agama payino nitya stam titik sasva bharata. O son of Bharata, this temporary appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course of time, they are like the appearance of summer and winter season, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. This is the Krishna's advice to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, that happiness and distress, they are just like summer and winter season. They come and go, and one should not be disturbed. So anything which is like a distress, even that is not long-lasting. Happiness, even that is not long-lasting. So we are all like puppets. And interestingly, he's saying like we are all the friends of Shishupal. They seem to be quite spiritual as well. I mean, we can understand that even though in those days, it looks like everybody, right from Vasudeva to Kamsa, and everybody, they seem to have some basic spiritual knowledge that about life in general. But then the Maya, or this, this Maya is so strong that it makes us dance to like puppets in the hands of this Maya. We are like puppets in the hands of Maya. But here you can see that here the realization for Shishupal's plan that we are all dancing by the will of the Supreme. As they say, not even a blade of grass moves without the will of Krishna. Daivi hayesha gunamayi mama maya duratya mami eviye prapajyanti mayam etam tarantite. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, this divine energy of mine, Arjuna, it is very, very difficult to cross, but anyone who surrenders to me will be able to cross over this divine energy. So here actually, the point according to Bhagavad Gita, we are like puppets in the hands of this material energy, which is again in the hands of Krishna. So ultimately, we are dancing, we are like puppets in the hands of the material energy, and that material energy is working according to the instructions of Krishna Bhagavan. Without Krishna's permission, even the material energy cannot do. So we can see that ultimately it is the will happening by the will of the Supreme. So we can see that the friends of Shishupal, some of them are they just kind of like seeing Shishupal in like he's losing his morale, and maybe he would have just found out that he's no way match for Krishna. When you feel you're able to defeat them, then you become very courageous. You try to roar like a lion. But when you see that the other opponent is like very powerful, you get demotivated, isn't it? Whether it's a tennis match or whether it's a battlefield, this is the nature of the mind, isn't it? When we see that you have a tough opponent, you start drying up, you start losing your morale, and you find that, and we can say that a similar situation, right? I mean, we can't compare Shishupal with Arjuna. Arjuna was a mighty, warrior, and he was the devotee of the Lord. But he losing his energy and the luster of the body. If you can remember when Arjuna had a situation, but this is the thing, right? Everybody goes through those things, through those emotions, through those situations. But a devotee like Arjuna, he takes Krishna as the guide, right? When Arjuna was in distress, seeing that he has to kill his own grandfather, he has to go and kill his own teacher, Dronacharya. What did he do? He immediately started crying to Krishna and started expressing his devotion towards Krishna. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha prachamatvam dharma sammudha chetaha yashreyashan nishitan bruhitan me Sistasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam, where Arjuna is telling Krishna, I have completely lost my composure due to the bodily weakness. In this situation, I'm asking you, Krishna, I have lost my composure, I lost my energy. Krishna, in this mood of complete depression. I'm asking you, please tell me what is the right thing for me to do. From now on, I don't consider you as my friend. I'm considering you as my guru. Please instruct to me, tell me what is the right thing for me to do. So this is the thing, right? When a devotee is in distress, when a devotee is losing his energy, when a devotee is losing his morale, he looks up to Krishna. He doesn't look up to his friends. He looks up to his Krishna. As we can see, like even when Draupadi was in distress, right? When they were trying to insult her by removing her sari and they were trying to do all kind of things, she looked at the Pandavas. Then she realized Pandavas are unable to help. She looked at Bhishma. She understood that Bhishma, Pitamaha, and Dronacharya, none of the elders were able to help. Then she lifted her hands up and prayed to Krishna. This is the ultimate surrender to Krishna. Chanka Chakra Gadadara Pani Dwaraka Nilaya Chuta Govinda Pundarikaksha Rakshamam Sharanam Gatim Govinda Pundarikaksha Rakshamam Sharanam Gatim. So immediately when Draupadi prayed like that, Krishna was actually there with Rukmini at that point of time. And then he suddenly, when he seen that what was happening over there with Draupadi, immediately he reciprocated her cries for Krishna by giving her unlimited sari and protecting her in that situation. But here, this is what the difference between devotee and a non-devotee. And a non-devotee could be looking up to his friends for encouragement, but a devotee of Krishna is looking up to Krishna to be the charioteer, and that should be our prayer. That Krishna, the way you guided Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, please guide us in this life. We could be taking the wrong judgments. We could be taking the wrong decisions, but please guide us the way you guided Arjuna. This should be the mood of the devotee. So we can see here, because my point here is that Krishna Katha has to be understood with the beautiful morals. Like every paragraph is giving us some guidance, saying that this is how we had to be as devotees of Krishna, not to be encourage, because sometimes you think like you have great friends, but sometimes you don't know your friends are actually misleading you, or whether they're just trying to take you into a trap. You don't know what kind of a thing that they're doing, But if you depend on Krishna as our supreme Lord, then we will be able to get a right guidance. Then Krishna will make all the divine arrangements, like how Krishna tells Arjuna, right? Arjuna, I already made all the arrangements for you. You all have to do is you have to just go and fight Arjuna. That's all you have to do. So this is the devotee's position, that Krishna is going to do all the arrangement. He's going to keep all the right people in my life. All I have to do is just do my job, just do my thing. So here we can see that Shishupal's friends are giving him all the kind of courage and just telling him and they're giving a bit of jnana as well, saying that we are all like puppets in the hands of this thing, and we should be equipoised in all circumstances. And this is like such a wise decision, actually. Like I said, it almost looks like these people, friends of Shishupal, have read Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna, this is another thing Krishna says, Yogast Sukhe Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo Tato Yuddhaya Yujjasva Naivam Papam Avapsasi Sukhe Dukkhe Same Kritva. He says, do your fighting for the sake of fighting. Just fight for the sake of fighting, Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. In that way, you will not incur any sin. So Krishna himself was advising Arjuna, just forget about success or failure, Arjuna. Just do your job with your equanimous mind. And this is exactly what the friends actually were talking about. And although in the beginning, the princes had been full of hope for success in their heroic action, after the defeat, they could only try to encourage Shishupal with flattering words. So this is what happens, right? The people are giving. Similarly, we can see earlier, Jarasandha's friends were just flattering when Jarasandha lost the battle in the hands of Krishna. And when he was gone back, Krishna spared him. I said, Jarasandha, go back, go to your king. I'm just sparing your life. But his friends encouraged Jarasandha and said, Jarasandha, don't worry about that. Losing one battlefield doesn't mean anything. Next time, prepare even more well. This is what they were doing. And similarly, here we can see for Shishupal also, they were doing the same thing. They were flattering him and encouraging him. Thus, Shishupal, instead of marrying Rukmini, had to be satisfied with the flattering words of his friends, and he returned to his home in disappointment. The kings who had come to assist him, also disappointed, then returned to their respective kingdoms. So we can see here, actually a Kshatriya like that, there is no way that he should be returning from a battlefield. When a Kshatriya is, if you remember, Krishna's advice also to Arjuna, when Arjuna wanted to just leave the battlefield, Krishna says, Arjuna, you're a Kshatriya. And imagine you leaving the battlefield and going back home. It is just worse than that, Arjuna, because people will scorn you. They will say, like, what kind of a warrior? You are a Kshatriya and you just left the battlefield and come back. Those words are so much like just sleeping on a bed of thorns. It is like so insulting. And for a Kshatriya, it is worse than death to be listening to such kind of a words. But here you can see that his friends have been encouraging, and even Shishupal knew that there's no way that he can win this one, and he's just returning back in disappointment. And even the people who are supporting him also, they return back to the respective kingdoms. So we can see that when Krishna is on our side, no matter how great warriors there are, how many great people come together, there's always going to be victory on the side of the devotee who's fighting for Krishna. That's why Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi, kaunteya, tad kurusva madarpanam. Arjuna, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, do everything as an offering to me. In that way, you'll be freed from all kind of karmic reactions. So the whole catastrophe of the defeat was due to the envious nature of Rukmini's elder brother Rukmi. Having seen his sister forcibly taken away by Krishna after he had planned to marry her to Shishupal, Rukmi was frustrated. It's very interesting, isn't it? Sister's name is Rukmini and his name is Rukmi. So after Shishupal, his friend and intended brother-in-law, returned home, Rukmi was very much agitated, was determined to teach Krishna a lesson personally. So this is what happens, right? I mean, right from all the incarnations, whether we see Hiranyakashipu or whether we can see Kamsa, these are all people are envious of Krishna, right? They were very, very envious of Krishna. And we've seen from the history that anybody who's envious of Krishna, what is the kind of a fate that will await them, right? So everybody, including Kamsa also, he tried his best. He was always thinking of Krishna, but in the mood of revenge, not in the mood of devotion. And this is what the difference between them. But Krishna is so kind that even someone like Putana who tried to kill him, he liberated her as well. So that is Krishna's kindness, Krishna's grace. So after Shishupal, his friend and intended brother, returned home, Rukmi was very agitated. So we can see that how this whole thing is happening. It's because of even Bhishmaka was not so keen about giving his daughter in the hands of Shishupal, but because of his son Rukmi, who was actually very determined to give his sister in the hands of Shishupal, and that's the reason why he had to keep quiet. And now we see that it's all because of Rukmi's envious nature of Krishna. And this is one of the things that brings to mind where Krishna says one of the quality that he likes in a devotee is Advaita Sarva Bhutanam Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahara. So Advaita Sarva Bhutanam, one who's not envious. The very first thing that Krishna says that a devotee that pleases him is someone who's not envious but is a kind friend to all the living entities. He says that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 12, in which he says Advaita Sarva Bhutanam, someone who's not envious. But here you can see that all these opponents of Krishna, they're always very envious. So these are the people who are like on the other side of the fence. They're not devotees, but on the other side. This envious nature and all these things, these are the things which Krishna does not appreciate. And as devotees, it's just not about just chanting, but by way of chanting, by listening to Bhagavad Gita also, we have to understand what are the qualities that make me very dear to Krishna. In this mood, in this Damodara month, what is the qualities that I should kind of like progress more on in order to please Krishna? So after Swishpa, so Rukmi was very agitated. He's called for his own soldier. So we can see that Rukmini's brother, Rukmi, has called for his own soldier, a military phalanx consisting of several thousand elephants. Can you imagine several thousand elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry equipped with their military tribes? He began to follow Krishna to Dwaraka. To show his prestige, Rukmi promised all the returning kings, you could not help Shishupal marry my sister Rukmini, but I cannot allow Rukmini to be taken away by Krishna. I shall teach him a lesson. Now I'm going to follow him. He presented himself as a big commander and vowed before all the princes, unless I kill Krishna in the fight and bring back my sister from his clutches, I shall not return to my capital city Kundini. I make this vow before you all, and you shall see that I shall fulfill it. After thus vibrating all these boasting words, Rukmi immediately got onto his chariot and told his chariot driver to pursue Krishna. He said, I want to fight with him immediately. This cowherd boy has become proud of his tricky ways of fighting with Kshatriyas, but today I shall teach him a good lesson. Because he had the impudence to kidnap my sister, I with my sharp arrows shall teach him a very good lesson indeed. Thus this unintelligent man, Rukmi, ignorant of the extent of the strength and activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna, voices impudent threats. So these are the things, isn't it? The people who are envious of Krishna, they try to make all kind of a boasting remarks, like how we can see Kamsa also, right? When Krishna was coming to the city of Mathura, Kamsa was making all levels of arrangements, right? He arranged wrestlers, then he arranged elephants to tramp Krishna, then he personally had his bodyguards, everybody fighting with Krishna, and finally he was ready to fight with Krishna as well. But Krishna, we've seen that how easily he went and defeated all of them. He just threw even this elephant and wrestlers, and there were just no match at all for Krishna. So we had to understand that Krishna, why do we call as Bhagavan? In Krishna Katha, we say Sri Krishna. But when we come to Bhagavad Gita, we say Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Why Bhagavan? Because unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited power and everything, right? This is a month where we have to rejoice because we are having Govardhan Puja, where Krishna at the age of 7 years lifts up a mighty mountain on his little finger. And this little finger lifting up a mountain signifies the power and strength that even a mighty mountain is just like I can lift it in my little finger. This is why Sri Krishna calls it Bhagavan, because of all the 6 opulences. The word God may not mean anything, because in this today's material world, everybody calls everyone God of cricket, God of football and all that. But here we in Sanskrit, we use the word Bhagavan, a much higher indication at someone who has all the 6 opulences, including unlimited renunciation, where he just walks away from the battlefield. So this is what it is. But here we can see that Rukmini's brother, again, like all of them are Kshatriyas. So we have that they're very agitated because they find it very insulting that this has happened right under their nose, that Krishna could just come and take away like that. And he's kind of like, you can see that Shishupal's on one side, Shishupal's friends are kind of like flattering you with all the words. And at the same time, some people, like, they knew that they want to save their own skin. They want to save their own army. So they retreat and go back. And Shishupal also goes back. And now we can see that Rukmi is his brother-in-law. I mean, actually, in a way, you can call him like bride's brother, right? He's the brother-in-law. So would be actually, but it never happens. So he's kind of now he wants to avenge, and he wants to just make sure, that he fights with Krishna, because we've seen that the whole reason why this marriage with Rukmini and Shishupal they were trying to arrange is because of Rukmi. He is the main character who wants to give his sister only in the hands of Shishupal and not her. So he's just kind of boasting himself to all the other princes that he's going to fight with Krishna and then bring him back. So this is the kind of a thing, right? People who do not have much knowledge that he is the Supreme Lord, he thinks that, okay, Krishna was being a cowherd boy at that time, because even though they were from different kingdoms, they would have known about Krishna, just like how Rukmini know about Krishna and about his different leelas that have happened. Even though people like Kamsa would have heard about how Krishna has been protecting the people of Vrindavan from all these demoniac, people kind of thing, right? So they would have already heard. But so here, Rukmini is kind of like very, very agitated, and he wants to teach Krishna a lesson. Can you imagine us trying to teach Krishna a lesson? And this is what happens. And he's making a vow that he is not going to come back to his city of Kundini until he goes and kills Krishna, or he defeats him on his battlefield. So this is the nature of the demoniac people we've seen right from the time of Hiranyakashipu and things like that, like Kamsa, because they think so much about themselves. And this is the mood. This is the mood of even Ravana, right? When even he was so much of boasting about himself. So he thought he could just take away Sita Mata and fight with Rama. But what did happen finally? Finally, he was defeated and finally he was killed. So this is the nature of the devotee people, for the nature of the envious people, the demonic people. One of the nature of the demonic people is that they have this false ego and they have this mighty ego, and they two things think too much about themselves. But a devotee always thinks that whatever talents that they have, it's because of Krishna. But this is the mood of the devotee, that whatever I have, it's only because of Krishna. We all know the story that when Arjuna was when he was there with Krishna, he thought he was a mighty warrior. He went and fought mighty battles. He fought with even Shiva. But finally, when Krishna left the material world, then you see that Arjuna was not able to even defend, fighting with his Gandiva. Even though he had Gandiva, he could not even protect Krishna's princess also on the way back. Then he understood that all this time, whatever great strength Arjuna realized, that whatever strength that he had, whatever talents that he had, it's because of Krishna. He cries and he tells Yudhishthira, his brother, that my brother, I thought all this time I'm great, I'm warrior, I'm very powerful, but now I understand that my greatness with my Gandiva and all the talent that I had, it's because of Krishna. And now Krishna has left. So all my talents, everything is being gone. Everything, nothing is there with me. So what happens? People say, like, what do you get by listening to Krishna Katha? What you get by listening to Krishna Katha? You get love for Krishna. We get realizations from Krishna. We get to understand our actual constitutional position of Krishna, that we are all subordinate to Krishna. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. We get to know how the demonic people are vanquished by Krishna, and how Krishna says, Kaunteya prati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. Arjuna declared to the whole world, a devotee of Krishna will never perish, because I will always keep protecting him. So here also Rukmini prayed to Krishna, please come and take me away from this. I don't want to get married to Shishpal. And Krishna listened to her prayers and comes here and take her. No matter whatever the opposition is, Krishna can give the protection. Nobody else can Krishna give protection. Rake Krishna Mare Krishna Rake. There is a kind of a proverb in Bengali which says that when Krishna wants to kill, nobody can protect you. But if Krishna wants to protect, nobody can kill you. So this is the mood of the devotee. So in great stupidity, he soon stood before Krishna, telling him repeatedly, stop for a minute and fight with me. So this is the words of Rukmi. You see, he's telling the mighty Lord Bhagavan Sri Krishna, stop for a minute and fight with me. After saying this, he drew his bow and directly shot 3 forceful arrows against Krishna's body. Then he condemned Krishna as the most abominable descendant of Yadu dynasty and asked him to stand before him for a minute so that he could teach him a good lesson. You are carrying away my sister like a crow stealing clarified butter meant for use in the sacrifice. You are proud of your military strength, but you cannot fight according to regulative principles. You have stolen my sister. Now I shall relieve you of your false prestige. You can keep my sister in your possession only until I beat you to the ground for good with my arrows. So this is the nature. You can see how Rukmi was. He's so kind of like so much in that kind of a mentality that he had. One way he finds very insulted that his own sister was taken away in front of his eyes, and he's kind of even threatening Krishna, like, you stop and come and fight with me. And he's ready to, because he does not know the greatness of Krishna. I'm really surprised, because Jarasandha, being a friend of Rukmi, he would have known about it, that even his friend Jarasandha has been defeated by Krishna, right? Because they all talk to each other. But still he can see that he's challenging Krishna, that he's carrying away his sister like a crow, and that he cannot fight according to religious principles. So this is the nature of the demonic people. They don't understand that Krishna is undefeatable. Nobody can conquer Krishna. But the same Krishna Bhagavan, who cannot be conquered by anyone, gets conquered by mother's love. So this month of Damodara is for us to reflect on some of these divine pastimes, to understand that nobody can defeat Krishna. Nobody, whether even a million Kamsas come, a billion Jarasandhas or Rukmis come, they cannot defeat Krishna. The only way you can tie down Krishna is by mother's love. That's the only way. And Krishna showed that through the Damodar Leela, that in this month of Damodara, that only a mother's love could tie away Krishna. He literally accepted and allowed his mother to tie him. Otherwise, there's no way you can tie away by the ropes. In fact, we are always tied by the ropes of the material nature, right? We are prakrite kriya manani gunai karmani sharvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The spirit soul, under the influence of false ego, thinks I am the doer of all the activities which are in actuality carried out by the 3 modes of material nature. So the 3 modes of material nature, they are actually tying down with the rope of these 3 gunas, that we are not able to move beyond these 3 gunas. But when we bind Krishna with the ropes of our love, then we'll be freed away from the ropes of entanglement in this material world. So we can see that how Krishna, he's telling, stop a minute and fight with me. And after saying that also, he's kind of like, he's trying to throw arrows at Krishna. And he's so annoyed and he's so angry, he's so upset because end of the day, he's a Kshatriya, whether even if it's a demonic person, right? So here, so he's very confident that his sister is going to be with Krishna only till Krishna comes and fights. And once he's so confident that once he releases his bows, that he can kill Krishna and take back his sister, Lord Krishna, after hearing all these crazy words from Rukmi, immediately shot an arrow and severed the string of Rukmi's bow, making him unable to use another arrow. Rukmi's intel immediately took another bow and shot another 5 arrows at Krishna. Being attacked for the second time, Krishna again severed Rukmi's bowstring. Rukmi took a third bow and Krishna again cut its strings. This time to teach Rukmi a lesson, Krishna shot 6 arrows at him and then shot another 8 arrows, killing 4 horses and with 4 arrows, killing the chariot driver with another arrow and chopping off the upper portion of Rukmi's chariot, including the flag, with the remaining 3 arrows. So we can see nobody can match Krishna, the Supreme Lord of the universe, right? So we can see like a person like envious like Rukmi, he can just kind of like say whatever words he wants, come and stand in front of me, come and fight with me and things like that. But you can see how Krishna is reciprocating. So the interesting thing what I understand is that Krishna is always reciprocating. If a devotee is offering love, he's reciprocating the love of his devotee. But if somebody is demoniac like Rukmi, he's reciprocating them also with, like how we can see over here, that even though Rukmi kind of tried to shoot the arrows, he was unable to, counteract Krishna's hand, because Rukmi immediately took another bow and shot another 5 arrows. Krishna was reciprocating the kind of the strength that Rukmi was showing. And you can see the kind of how speed that Krishna would have used, that he severed even Rukmi's bowstring. And with the third bow, he even cut his string also. So you can imagine the accuracy that Krishna was showing over here, that in order to teach him a lesson, he was just kind of like breaking his bow, breaking his bowstrings, and even breaking his chariot driver and the horses, and chopping off the upper portion. So we can see that nobody can come as a match to Krishna. Krishna kind of like, whether it is Rukmini, whether it is Shishupal, whether it's Kamsa, he handles them just so easily because he's the Supreme Lord. In fact, Krishna is one of the name of Krishna which is mentioned in Vishnu Sahasranamam is that even the weapons get their effectiveness by the grace of Krishna. So we can see that everything happens by the grace of Krishna. Without Krishna's grace, nothing can happen. So we can see that how Krishna is reciprocating with the arrows and killing even the chariot driver and chopping off the upper portion of Rukmini's chariot, and including the flag. Rukmi, having run out of arrows, took assistance from swords, shields, tridents, lances, and similar weapons used for fighting hand to hand, but Krishna immediately broke them all in the same way. Being repeatedly baffled in his attempts, Rukmi took his sword and ran swiftly towards Krishna, just as a fly proceeds towards a fire. What an analogy, isn't it? But as soon as Rukmi reached Krishna, Krishna cut his weapon to pieces. This time, Krishna took out his sharp sword and was about to kill him immediately. But Rukmi's sister Rukmini, understanding that this time Krishna would not excuse her brother, fell down at Krishna's lotus feet and in a very grievous tone, trembling with great fear, began to plead with her husband. So we can see that we can bring to mind, isn't it? Like it is so, the Bhagavatam and Krishna book is so much alive with this narration that we can see how Rukmi kind of like charging, even though he's tried to pull his arrows and Krishna counteracted and broke his bow and thing, and now he's coming directly trying to charge with Krishna. But Krishna, whatever shields, whatever everything that, because normally we know in the war they use the shields and they use different weapons, including the tridents which they throw instead of, like, not only does the knife and bow, but they even have those tridents, right, which they throw in those weapons, like they use them when it comes handy. But Krishna just so effortlessly broke all of them in spite of all of them. So we can see that when he was coming to attack Krishna directly and took his sword and started coming, he was no match for Krishna. And Krishna took his sharp sword and was about to kill him also. But you can see like Krishna is so merciful. Rukmini, out of his her compassion, because after all, Rukmini was Rukmini's brother, right? So that's one reason why she fell on Krishna's feet and asking him to just forgive, with a great fear, because she knows that. So everything was, the interesting thing is that Rukmini was next to Krishna and she was seeing all this, the way things were unfolding. Well, first of all, he comes to this place, Kundini. He takes Rukmini, puts her on the chariot, walks up, gets away from there. We find all these enemies running back of them, and finally he faces them in the battle, and so effortlessly he defeats all his friends, Shishupala's friends, and now he's defeated. Even Shishupala has gone back because he knew that he was no match, and now we find that even Rukmi is no match. He's found that, and Krishna has spared them. We will get to know in the next one as to what's going to happen. But so far, as you can see, that Rukmini is now pleading with Krishna to spare the life of her brother Rukmini. So I will just want to pause over here. And it's time for reflection. I'm just being mindful and of everyone's time. And today is Diwali as well, just in case if everyone wants to just take back the time to just spend time with your loved ones. Any reflections, any corrections, anything, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali. Happy Diwali, Prabhu. Prabhu. Vrindavan Das Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna. I listening to your lecture, but I can't disturb you. Nice. My favorite story on Krishna and Balaram. And
Yeah.
I'm very happy, enjoy to this today.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving us the association. Yeah, it's always joyful, isn't it, to see like how we have to understand how great Krishna is. Only then we can fall in love with Krishna. In fact, yes, Prabhuji.
Did you know in Vrindavan story on Krishna Balaram, why put Krishna Balaram in the Vrindavan?
I think there's some explanation that Prabhupada has given, but let us hear from your
Yeah, but the inside when you Prabhupada in Radha Damodar temple in night and sleeping, he's dreaming to that place Krishna Balaram playing on Tamal Briksha. And Tamal Briksha, Prabhupada is dreaming, and Prabhupada immediately the next day coming, and that area Prabhupada is making to this is Tamal inside the Tamal. This is new. When we are together put it in, but the old Tamal tree, very bigger tree. This is left body. This is the left body. And Andhra Prabhu all body, all the Tamal Briksha, and put in the room. Because this special Krishna Balaram playing that tree, and he's a left body up all of the chopping small piece and put in the room. But this very very important Krishna Balaram playing of that place where now is temple is very beautiful, and that's why everyone love to Krishna Balaram. That's a small story, a little bit I can explain, not too much.
Yeah, definitely, Prabhuji. Definitely. In fact, I think it is so joyful because listening to this Krishna Katha, and even what I really like is the mood of friendship that, how Krishna and Balaram, they're in the temple, like just putting their hands on each other. It is so beautiful to see both of them together, isn't it?
Both of them handsome.
Yeah. How nice, like the beautiful picture, isn't it, Prabhuji? It's very nice, isn't it, to see, joyful to see both of them in that mood.
Yeah.
It's going Vrindavan. Yeah. I just want to see Ramnath Prabhuji, any reflections? Anything that you want
not so much. It's just amazing how Krishna's pastimes, he's enacting the role of a human being, yet he's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this particular mood, he's very chivalrous. He's a kshatriya, he's fighting. And so Krishna has that capacity to fight, just as usually we think of Ramchandra as a kshatriya, the king aspect of Vishnu or Krishna. And that's true. But also Krishna, he enjoys the fighting spirit. Of course, he always wins, but he's also, there's so many lessons to be learned within all these leelas.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, yeah, so many lessons, like as you said, Prabhuji, so much of nectar and so many things that we can draw. Because in this today's material world, it's very difficult to get faith, it's very difficult to get hope. But how can we get faith? How can we increase our faith other than hearing the Krishna Katha and getting that confidence, like we can see through all the leelas, that he's always standing by his devotees. He's always reciprocating to the call of his devotees. So how will we understand that unless we read the? So I feel like these things should be happen hand in hand. One while we chanting at the same time, we are also listening to get that faith and hope in Krishna's protection.
Yeah, what the whole Diwali theme in a nutshell is the light over darkness always wins. That darkness cannot fight back to the light of truth, and of course the light is Krishna. So yeah, that's that's there in so many ways, and within our Shastra, within our scriptures, that the light of knowledge of Krishna consciousness ultimately will have a much bigger influence within the world than it is now. Not simply, a small sect. The Hare Krishna movement is perceived just basically as a sect of Vaishnavism within the larger umbrella of Hinduism. So it's sometimes just kind of like minimized. But actually, the ultimate truth of not just Vaishnavism, but Gaudiya Vaishnavism will shine forth. And that's the whole theme of Diwali, in receiving Ramchandra coming back, and here with Krishna defeating Rukmini. Rukmi. It's very, it's on one level it's very elemental, but on another level it's very profound. How Krishna consciousness is meant to actually shed light on the world, which is in the darkness of Kali Yuga.
Darkness of Kali Yuga, I think, yeah, that's very apt word, Prabhuji. Darkness of Kali Yuga. So in this darkness of Kali Yuga, we need to light the lamp for Krishna.
Yeah.
In order to come out of, I was just reflecting on from Krishna point of view on Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, I was just thinking, like, when we, Krishna is always reciprocating our feelings. So when we are offering the candle and light to Krishna, and I was thinking how Krishna reciprocate, where he says in Bhagavad Gita, Vibhuti Yoga, chapter number 10, Teshamevana partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nasayami bhavasto jnanadipena bhashvata. So Krishna says that to show them special mercy, I, sitting in the hearts, dwelling in the hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness which is born of ignorance. So this is how Krishna is reciprocating. He's not saying that I'll give you the best things in the world, just have lamp. No, he's saying, for my devotee, I show them the mercy that I'm with a lamp of knowledge. I burn down the ignorance, which darkness born of ignorance. And I was just reflecting on that this is how Krishna reciprocates, because in more than what we need in our life, we are suffering from ignorance. And Krishna says, with the light of knowledge, I remove this darkness born of ignorance. So I was just thinking about that sloka, that how Krishna is.
Yeah, that's a very good sloka, of course, from the Gita. And the verse that we all learned early on in Krishna consciousness, Om Agyana Timarandasya Jananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Umanitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, that we're born into ignorance, but we have to always offer our respects to the Guru, who carries that shining lamp of knowledge to dispel the darkness. So it's a strong metaphor. And certainly, I mean, I'm here in my room and listening to the fireworks going off. I guess that's symbolic of what the Hindus outside my community are trying to celebrate with their Diwali, a fireworks celebration. Although I don't know if everyone appreciates it, but just even in an Arctic ceremony, offering of the elemental element of fire to the deities on a daily basis, that is there too. It's the fire, the element of light and knowledge over darkness, is intrinsic to our tradition.
Absolutely.
That means sorry about that means today is the Ram come to Ayodhya, welcome back to the Ayodhya and kill to Ravana, and that's why we are to ghee lamp, and all Hindus people in fire or like ghee lamp. Everyone should be look like that, because Ramchandra he come back to Ayodhya.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the way I see it too is that India or Hindu culture or Sanatana Dharma culture is basically on the rise within the world as well.
Yeah.
And this is a good thing. Well, ISKCON is part of that. And ultimately, ISKCON needs to also lead the way in terms of shining that lamp of knowledge through the agency of Prabhupada and Prabhupada's books. It's all there, but not everyone really appreciates who Prabhupada is in dispelling the darkness of Kali Yuga by taking that lamp of knowledge outside of India and spreading it around the world.
Mm.
Mm.
Many others followed him, but he was the first in terms of bringing, the elements of Sanatana Dharma. Of course, our focus is Chaitanya Vaishnavism. Other people bring other aspects of Sanatana Dharma. But Prabhupada courageously knew what he had to do, and he was empowered, and he did it in his later years. As an example for all of us.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhupada is such an inspiration and such a guide for all of us. Like, because at one time, the only way we could know about all these things was to listen to our grandparents telling those stories, like as the bedtime stories. But Prabhupada has given us this in books, which is going to remain forever. So this is the greatest benediction that we have from Prabhupada. Translation and translation, so that in future, for thousands of years, it's going to be there.
Yes. Yes, the Hare Krishna movement essentially is very young.
Yeah.
55 years.
Yes.
Whatever it is, it's not very old in the larger scheme of history. And so, yeah, future generations will definitely come to understand and appreciate what's happening with the Hare Krishna movement. And in certain ways, I see the world at a certain junction right now. And yeah, certainly Sanatana Dharma can and Krishna consciousness can play a very important role in the years to come. And I mean, like, basically within the next 5 years, potentially.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. I don't want to say too much, but I think a lot can happen.
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, just to add to that also, like we in Krishna consciousness, it's made it immediate. It's Prabhupada has given us such variety that people are interested in kirtan, they have kirtan. People interested in knowledge, they have Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So from all angles, like a 360-degree.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Kirtan yoga or kirtan meditation is a big deal these days.
Everything.
So that young people can tap into spiritual life and Krishna consciousness without understanding too much knowledge, but they can get a real taste very quickly.
Yes, absolutely, Prabhuji. Yeah, that's true. And that's why it's a joy to see in Soho Temple, very young people coming and doing kirtans and all that. Because slowly, once you get the taste for it, and automatically over the time, they will get into book reading, they will get into other aspects as well. So somewhere the spark has to start, which is something nice. Because all of us are different. Some people like kirtan, some people like just a calm time and knowledge, and they're different people. But Krishna consciousness is something which can appeal to everyone. We can,
Krishna consciousness, Chaitanya Vaishnavism, it unifies spiritual life through the simple agency of kirtan, Sankirtan. And so, there is the congregational chanting, then there's the personal chanting and japa, but it's the kirtan that is that unifying force that Prabhupada had full faith in, and that's what drove him to come to the West. He knew it would happen, but someone had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Prabhuji. And also the way Prabhupada is presented so nicely that even if a common man can take a book of science of self-realization and easily...
But this is Prabhupada's expertise. He's Shaktavesh avatar, specifically empowered to preach to the West.
Yes.
That's a special empowerment. That's what Prabhupada's Shakti was.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji, absolutely. The language, Prabhupada, the way, because I see sometimes some of the gurus who I mentioned, it just finds very difficult to understand in the way, but Prabhupada is present so nicely that anybody can connect to that, to the language that he has used or the way he has explained.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is very elegant, very sophisticated, very beautiful language, but no one can understand it, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so but Prabhupada's teachings, yeah, sometimes he gets very technical, but he has to. But basically, that his empowerment is in his writings and his teachings to bring people to an understanding of what genuine spiritual life is about, and then gradually elevating them more and more into more and more realizations about their own spiritual relationship with Krishna. So, but this is Prabhupada's inconceivable mercy in bringing this light of Sanatana Dharma out of India, basically really for the first time. Yeah, you can say Vivekananda did it, but what did Vivekananda bring? He brought Mayavad. So the first time real essence of Sanatana came out was with Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for enlightening this, Prabhuji. Because hearing about Prabhupada from you is something always very special, dear to us. Where can we know about Prabhupada? Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Anyhow, sorry, Prabhu. Good night. I'm sleeping. Tomorrow
Yes.
working.
Hare
Tonight,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji, for your association.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
everyone.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
everyone, for your association. Vanchakalpataribhyasya kripa sindhubhyo.
Sitana Bhava.
Devyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, John Prabhu. Hare Bol.